Well, hello peeps! We are continuing the series on how to get your elite transmog by reaching 1800 in solo shuffle. This time we got the Hunter. As usual, I will go over all the necessary steps you can take to accomplish this goal, and going over all the things you can do before even stepping into the arena with gameplay tips and solo shuffle around analysis. I usually separate these in parts, but for the Hunter playstyle I think a longer video is needed. I have done this climb in the peak of the Light's vengeance, and the Light had no mercy for us Hunters. So I hope you enjoy. First things first, you want to reach level 70 and start farming out your honor gear. It's time to hit the BGs. Or is it? At this point, a lot of the PvP currency is transferable to some degree. So if you have a main, of course send the conquest boxes and medals of honor for your easy gear acquisition. If it's your first character you're playing this season, then do your PvP and weekly quests and world PvP quests for the first bit of conquest and trophies of strife to buy higher item level PvP gear. Usually I would not make suggestions on how you spend your conquest, since I think it's one of those personal preference things, but for marksman I would get a 2 set on the shoulder and head as soon as possible, and weapon possibly first. You can skip the weapon for something else, but I would try to get the 2 set first for sure. You can also run the 4 set, but I would recommend turning your gear only after you've acquired a full offset or such. The 4 set is not really huge on so I've seen actually people running a 2 set, although I personally ran a 4 set. There is one stat priority I see, and that's Versa Mastery Haste Crit or Crit Haste. I will say that crit will be more bursty, but haste will make the spec more playable. Not much to say, Mastery is flat damage increase to all your damage, and is basically the king for hunters. As far as the crafted items are considered, boots are best in slot as usual. At this point you can simply send the Primal Chaos from your main, so these should be something you can acquire instantly. It's also very cheap, I think it's also cheaper, at least on my server, it's cheaper than a premium weapon enchant. The necessary would be the crafted ring to get both rings in mastery and a higher item level. I personally just ran the honor ring beside the conquest ring to optimize my stats. As far as builds are considered, there is one main build I see people use. I shall refer to it as the salvo build. I have seen some other more AoE focused builds, but they are, I would say, strictly for RBGs. Now for a little overview of the talents, of like what would be like your most important talents. Death Blow, it's the thing that procs kill shot for you. Volley and Salvo, this is basically how you will burst a lot of the time, especially versus double melee. Other than that, you should go ahead and basically read all of these, so you know that what each talent point really does. Some of them are just flat, flat percentage damage things. Some of them are like lock and load, where you have a percentage to get a, free aimed shot and also insta-cast aimed shot. Serpent's Rinkery, it's also the reason why you don't need to take Serpent Sting, so just take a look at all of these. They don't really change. I haven't been really playing around with these, and I haven't seen really like much variation in what people use. So I think these are pretty cookie cutter and you should pretty much use them all the time. I think this point is basically free from improved steady shot. Basically you could, I guess, put this into something else. You could maybe put it into multi-shot to make it easier to apply salvo or whatever, right? You have some choices, I guess, you could do with this, right? Maybe even pulling out the Veiling Arrow. As far as the hunter side is considered, this is where you have some variation. There's like some amount of points that you can keep up here and you have used to use up here. You have to get, I guess I would say, it takes some, I guess, learning, right? You can either have natural mending or you can have wilderness medicine, right? Tar trap and stuff like that, survival fitness, nature's endurance. These are things that are standard that you always want to have. Improved tar traps, entrapment, etc. Your CC, right? Scatter shot, intimidation. Of course you could go down here anyway, which one you want, right? So a lot of these are choices. You also have a kind of a choice between going Serpent Sting or going Explosive Shot. I've seen some people do it like this. This will have a little bit more, I think, damage if you're just simply getting to free cast, but this is very rare. This is very, very rare, so I generally would recommend you staying with the Explosive Shot. And there's not much to it, really. The talents are relatively cookie cutter. You can go for Sentinel Owl by going into Born to be Vile. Again, those things will be your personal choices. You can see You can play around it to see how many points you have to put in each tier to really get down to here. Some of these things, like this part here, is cookie cutter and you want to have these, right? You don't want pet damage. Now, as far as the PvP talents are considered, there is a few, I guess, choices. Roar, Sacrifice, and Survival Tactics are pretty much baseline, things that you will use baseline. I do want to go over some DPS, I guess, choices, which would be Sniper Shot and True Shot Mastery. I would never use True Shot Mastery. Sniper Shot can be used to kind of add onto your burst, especially outside of like you having cooldowns. So it's not bad, but overall I would still skip these for more of a utility or defensive option. Right, so Chimerial Sting, just as always, on all hunters, really good, both to use offensively and defensively. Diamond Ice, niche, but it can be used to stop, I guess, especially, well, specifically used versus Fist Weavers, where you will cleave a lot, right? So there's a big chance of your trap just getting instantly broken. So this is something that I've used either versus Fist Weavers or where I have to use the trap to basically save myself, right? So you want to use it onto a melee that is kind of, you know, destroying you, like a paladin, right? So what happens, paladins will bubble, right, one of these, so it can also be a good way to force an angry paladin. Other than that, I don't know, there's not much that I would use, other than the kind of standard ones. Dragon Scale Armor is also like a choice, but it's more of a choice, very, how would you say, niche choice, right? You're gonna use it very rarely. Tranquilizing Darts, something that's really good, especially versus like Resto Druids and Healing Evokers. Consecutive Concussion is something that used to be used when a marksman didn't have a stun, but now that you have a stun, I feel like it's, again, something more relegated to BGs, or I guess if you just have a free PvP talent, you can take it to try and get the extra stuns during the game. Now we come to the most important part in my opinion, which is training yourself for PvP. The basic of it being your sustained and burst rotations. You will do this by spending some time with my best friend, the target dummy. It might sound silly, but the most important thing is to make your damage come out without thinking, so you can actually focus on the match. This is even more important on a class like MM. Unlike other classes where it's a very PvE, like in MM's case I will segment it into part of the rotation, as the PvE scenario is very rare. So let's start off with the sustained rotation, and the rotation you'll use maybe 10% of the time. Aim shot, empowered arcane shot to spend focus, into rapid fire on CD, and steady shot when low on focus. Not very complicated. The reality though is that this will be done a fraction of your games, as with MM it's all about your burst and making your damage kind of hit all at once. So most of the time it will be aimed shot, arcane shot into rapid fire. Another thing is you will simply be targeted a lot, especially in triple melee lobbies where you won't be able to cast a lot of aim shots. Your rotation will kind of change and you honestly won't be able to spend as much focus, right? So you will not be casting as many steady shots. Second I want to go over is what I will call the getting trained rotation, which is just using your instant casts and procs to do damage. Not casted aim shots. Not casting aim shot can feel terrible, but not clicking any button is far worse. You won't do your optimal damage this way, but with good kiting you can still make this damage meaningful. Also getting some lucky procs, then CCing the enemy healer can win you the games very easily. Now we are coming to the burst rotations. First is the mini burst rotation, with Salvo and Death Chakram. There is two variations I will go over. One I will use when you're free to cast and in the open. Salvo plus volley, Death Chakram, aimed shot, arcane shot, rapid fire. Use that block procs as you get them. Second variation is when you're getting trained or your target is next to a pillar. Instead of the aim shot, you want to add the explosive shot. It also will do slightly more cleave damage, I feel like, so it can be used versus double melee for that reason. A thing to note is that Chakram is your main burst enabler, on top of it being your strongest one button press consistently. Now we have True Shot Burst, which is just trying to get as many aim shot and rapid fires within the cooldown. Sometimes you will use it alone without stacking on another cooldown, especially versus double melee, where true shotting at the start where you will be targeted, it's not really good to commit, you know? You'd want to wait for mobility abilities and such to be used first. Now we come to the full burst rotation, which is adding Salvo and Death Chakrams before going into your true shot burst. Best used when you get a stun trap on the healer or when you know you're not the target, and you will be able to PvE and use a lot of resources from your opponents. Now for some simulations, as Hunter PvP is rarely just hitting a target dummy and doing your damage rotation simply. These are useful to practice, especially if you're just started using your focus binds to cast abilities. Unfortunately, doing damage with MM in PvP will take some practice, as the perfect situation of the enemy just standing in the open and you just get to shoot them and smack them as much as you want is very rare. Now for some tips and tricks. The first and most important thing is learning when to do aim shot. Now what I'm talking about changes a little bit depending on what you're facing. Versus melee, this might mean do you actually stop to cast the aim shot. A lot of the times it is better to stay and fight, and a lot of the times it's better to just run and look for a different window of opportunity. Are the melees lining their healer? If yes, then standing your ground while your healer heals you is better than trying to kite and doing subpar damage. Versus range, you might be in a bad position to follow up your damage. The range is standing next to a pillar, so your ability to follow up the aimed shot is going to decide when you go for it. Of course, I'm not saying not to do damage, but when you're going in for the kill, this is important to take note of. Ultimately, it is one of those things that comes with the game sense and experience. Another core skill is positioning, learning to make yourself a bad target versus double melee. This is the key to victory in most cases. It can be very hard in uncoordinated brackets of solo shuffle to get certain class combinations of yourself. A part of this is Hunter CC being breakable on damage, and another part is Red Paladins and DKs. I think there is nothing more frustrating than tossing out a steel trap or a scatter shot only for it to be immediately broken. Another is Red Paladins or DK combos. DKs are not as egregious, as they're more enablers, where they let Red Paladin enables their ally and whoops your ass themselves. Ultimately, these are just some things you will need to learn to deal with by positioning well. This is also something that's impacted by maps, like Ruins of Lordaeron completely removing any chance of you pulling a melee behind the line of sight for any meaningful amount of time, while also being extremely small. Learn to use your defensives. Which defensives you need to commit for which CD. Again, this will take some experience. While you can get away with using Roar of Sacrifice versus Fire Mage's Combustion simply, other burst cooldowns might need you to use multiple ones or different ones. Like for a Warrior Spear of Bastion, where you could use Roar of Sacrifice or Roar of Sacrifice plus BM Trinket, or have your healer use something, right? Again, this will depend on the situations, on what you're facing, what spec is your healer. Example, if your healer is a Disco Priest, most likely they will commit Pain Suppression right away, meaning you can get away without even using a personal cooldown. Learning when you have to use deterrence, when it's the best to simply commit it and save it other CDs. Example, if you're getting heavily bursted and your healer is getting CC'd, then trying to save yourself with other defensives is futile and will cause you to overlap cooldowns. So the safe option is to just deter and save yourself the trouble and save your other cooldown. As far as pet management with MM, there is not much to it. You just want to keep your pet alive for Roar of Sacrifice and your Mortal Strike effect. Other than that, it's not a huge part of your kit like BM and survival. So just pay attention to its status so you can use its pet abilities. It's all about the CC, both offensively and defensively. You will set up majority of your wins with a trap on the healer. This is also how you will get the most of amount of pressure in a round. You will also defend yourself and your teammates' baseline with your CC, not counting defensive cooldowns. There is also different combos for accomplishing these goals, like Intimidation Stun or Binding Shot into Trap, a Kobe Trap, Scatter Shot into Trap. Ephemeral Sting can also be added here. For defense, Binding Shot into a Tar Trap into a Steel Trap, Scatter Shot into a Steel Trap, etc. Many different combos you can employ, or just singular CC on a burst cooldown. Unlike survival, you don't have an easy time connecting your trap on enemy healers, but the strong thing with MM Hunter is that every time that you connect a trap, when you have Death Chakrams or another cooldown, you can do kill damage on your own. If the enemy has used up their CDs, a trap on the healer is pretty much 100% kill. So now for a little solo shuffle analysis, we have actually a really good lobby here for us. It's Devastation Evoker, Mage, and Fire Mage, which is also like very counterable for Hunter with Roar of Sacrifice, and an Arms Warrior. So we have a really good lobby overall, I would say, here for us. Here I'm opening up on the healer, getting the CC going, and we're gonna be targeting the Mage. MM is extremely good at targeting mages. Here I'm just trying to keep the warrior away. Do like a double trap. He does not fall for like the second trap. Kind of did that early. Should have like paid more attention to it. I'm kind of taking some damage here, but we can do more damage though, so it's kind of, how would I say, it's a net positive, but I could have been like playing a you know, a little bit better mobility here, and still the same kind of effect, right? Here I'm trying to actually get the warrior off me because he's been kind of slapping my ass. Here I'm just looking for some CC. That was kind of the yard. Should have honestly waited before going for it again. Here again, just trying to keep myself away from the warrior while also hitting the mage. How you should definitely be playing in this versus like a double melee. Sorry, not a double melee, but like a melee and range composition. Here I trinket, that was really troll. I was like trinketing the Ring of Frost, but like I was getting hit as well in the same time, so that was like mega cringe. I get a stun and trap on the healer, really good. This is gonna let us have some pressure going here. My Devastation Invoker is just having a free game while this is all happening. He's just casting, you know, free CC, free everything, so I'm actually being... I would say I'm doing actually a really good job at being an annoying target to kill here. Here, as soon as I see Combustion, immediately Roar of Sacrifice. Now I think that was like a proc Combustion or something? It didn't seem like... I'm not sure if they have like a proc Combustion, but that didn't seem like long enough to me for some reason. Here's why I think Precognition is OP, is because like in Solo Shuffle you're gonna double kick so many times and you just get a free Precognition proc, so that's why I think Precognition is OP. Yeah, that was like some kind of a Combustion proc, now is the real Combustion popping off here. I should have been, I should have jumped into that Spirit Link. That was kind of a mistake. But again, I should be just DPSing the mage here and kind of winning because we just do more damage, and that's what happens. Definitely could have done a better job at moving around, but I think overall a good performance. Here again, this time I'm with the mage. We're gonna be going for the probably for the Liquid Fire, sorry, Devastation Invoker. I was reading his name unintentionally, so it kind of blocked in my brain. What was the spec's name again? Here I blow off my own trap, which is not smart, but I didn't want to go for like a full burst in the opener. Now I start pumping, but again I would say like that was really weird. I should have honestly started off with True Shot and then went into Salvo Death Chakrams. Because I broke my own trap, we basically lost an X amount of pressure there. Here I just get to play some PvE. I use BM as just, you know, in case some kind of crazy burst starts coming my way. Again, mage is not gonna be having a really good time in this lobby. I'm gonna be kind of targeted. I get a cheeky trap there, but it was like after a polymorph, so like the mage should have honestly just been completely focused on just doing damage and running away, surviving, while he let me polymorph, and then he could polymorph, right? The mage can polymorph for, how would you say, he can polymorph the other DPS off target, right? So, it's a little message for me. Here we're just gonna be going mage again. I want to get off, like, I guess because we don't, yeah, I open up my burst onto the Healing Evoker because I just felt like, while their cooldowns, you know, while we can't get CC and stuff, we're not gonna do like, you know, focusing all the damage into one target would have not been the smartest, but like versus a, you know, Preservation Evoker is just, honestly, they heal a lot. AoE, that was not like the best start, so definitely should have been focusing there. Like, I understand kind of what I was going there, what the idea was, right? We can't CC the Evoker yet, so I just wanted to do some, I guess, pressure, but honestly should have just focused the mage with the warrior and would have done probably more pressure. Here, again, I'm being targeted because it's the warrior, right? With me, so I'm just like the target, I guess the automatic target. I'm really pumping the mage good, I would say, like I'm, you know, kiting away from line of sight and stuff like that, while also outputting more damage than the warrior. Actually outputting the most damage in this round. Get a nice trap, that was like a really nice trap, and gets a kill off. I was looking to slow, right, and then go for the trap, but got a really good root from the warrior, and the warrior also did not go zag and freaking break the root. Oh, sorry, break the trap. Here I'm able to stop the cast, the Nullifying Shroud cast, and I'm able to go for CC right away. I'm pumping him hard. I pop defenses because he's the Devastation Evoker is pumping cooldowns onto me, so right, I'm gonna die if I'm not... Like, the whole shtick of the class is one-shots, right? So if I'm just respect the one-shot, I'm not gonna get one-shot, basically, you know? If you put the respect on the name. Here I get double CC going, we get triple CC, basically, for a second there. Some reason the mage is casting another poly. It could have been like a good time to get some damage off onto the warrior. We are, I guess, targeting the warrior this time. Last time we did, I think we targeted the Devastation Evoker, but it didn't work out. So this time we decided to go for the warrior. I'm honestly just... this is kind of an easy, I'd say, lobby because I get to play some PvE. Here I'm not doing, like, that was just, I don't know what, yeah. No explanation there, like, I'm not in line of sight of anything, I'm just taking damage. That was just really bad. Really bad right there. Should have, like, repositioned to hit the warrior and not take damage from the Devastation Evoker, like, quite a bit there before. Here we get a nice trap. You almost get some nasty damage going, but the warrior actually disarms me, which is really intelligent, I would say, versus like... Marksman is like the only hunter that's truly worth disarming. Like, survival is kind of, but, you know, still not, but like... You know, for MM it's actually a huge deal. We're actually swapping here. You'll hear me sighing there a little bit. Damn, this match is going kind of back and forth. We're getting good kind of pressures here now. I'm going to line of sight, especially to, how you say, my healer can get me there. This does alleviate a lot of pressure. I'm a melee spec, I guess, here. And we managed to get him, man. That was like really like one global difference between the dragon getting the mage and me getting the dragon. Here again, probably just the mage gonna get targeted. I open up with the classical stun into trap, into damage. Mage is getting heavily bursted. And I don't know, the lines the healer there for a second, does not block. That's just a mage mistake, I would say there. That was just a mage mistake there, right there. Here again, probably the mage, the poor mage. It's just marksman is so good for versus mage. Here I should be using my Roar of Sacrifice onto me or somebody at least, right? We get blocked like right away. We got some nasty damage going onto the mage. Like, MM just destroys mages. Like, that's just one thing the spec can do. Like, if this spec can do it, it can just absolutely annihilate the mages. It's not like the same for, you would think it's the same for like warlocks and other class spec, kind of cloth specs, but no, like, it specifically like shits on mages, like destroys them. Here, go do like scatter trap, but like, I don't know, that was like the yard or something. Oh man, I'm getting an allergy attack. Not a good time, not good timing. Here, just pumping the mage, waiting for my next CC. Go, I would say I'm generally positioning very good at here, keeping myself in line of sight of the mage, because we are on the offensive, right? Warrior is also kind of the, I would say, general focus target. You get banged almost. Luckily, I had enough time to activate, how would you say, between the CC and my deterrence. Here again, I actually tried to go like a scatter shot into an aim shot into a trap, but unfortunately I do get some sort of CC on myself. Here I disengage to get into better position, and I think we're gonna be done here. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things the YouTuber wants you to do, and have a nice day.